Steve Guttenberg here. I am with my hero, Nelson Pass, in the workshop, and we're going to look at some of his inventory here. You got a huge inventory. We're going to only show a little bit of it, but this is a good place to start. What is this stuff?
Well, these are JFETs, little signal transistors, which are junction field effect transistors. I have one variety here, basically, and I would say we have about 250,000 or so.
And they'll be used in first water or past labs?
And also in DIY projects. It's not that I need that many right now, but I have learned that you get these parts while you can. Because I've had many instances now of stuff that got discontinued before I had acquired a serious hoard. And then you find that you have vast difficulty getting them. Or on the other side, if you have acquired them, they're worth a lot more. So in this case, I got them while the getting was still good. And I've got enough to probably last me a lifetime there.
Cool.
Going down the aisles, I have down over here, I've got boxes and boxes of all manner. These are all power transistors along here.
Wow.
This represents a small fraction of my actual inventory of power transistors. But these are some, again, unobtainium stuff. Harris P-channel MOSFETs that they have stopped making a long time ago. And I have a good inventory still of the semi-south silicon carbide power transistors.
SIT?
Yeah, including, well, I've got here's some Japanese SITs. Here are some of the SIT1 transistors that I used in SIT 1, 2, and 3. And then also some more that I'm going to figure out how to use because they're slightly off spec, but I have some thoughts about that.
Okay, but you do.
And these are Sony VFETs. This is the last.
Oh, right. Yeah, you were telling me about
these. This is the last of the
Show
Sony
the
VFETs
top pile,
that
the one in the red.
Okay, well, this is actually, these particular ones are ones that a guy sent to me as a gift.
Wow.
And the rest I bought out of Singapore. And this is, I had a little over 2,000 of them, and now I'm down to enough, about 400 or 500, enough to do 400 or 500 DIY channels.
Wow.
Which is going to be launched out this
Okay.
fall. And some more Japanese big power SITs. I'll show you one on the bench here afterwards. And then in the back row over here, I got like a big giant wall of resistor values. And then more exotic parts, basically filling up these areas here. Some of the prizes are, I've got the Toshiba JFETs, the 2SJ74s, 109s, 170s, 389s, 370s that can't be had for love or money, or actually a lot of money. They can. And also,
make them an offer,
yeah, we got
folks.
some Toshiba smaller power transistors here of various sorts. Some of this stuff is gone away. Some of it is still, well, almost none of it is current actually. A lot of the stuff has just gone away, but I've got enough for me, and it goes on down to the rest of that, and then it just, here we are with, like I said, I have a separate storage facility where I keep the rest of them.
Yeah, this is not big enough. Yeah, we're only even in this room we can't show everything. It's hard to maneuver around in here.
Yeah, and the light isn't that good in here.
Yeah. So we will continue in 1 second.
Okay, let's go back to the bench.
So we're back, and you cherry-picked some really cool, very, very, very exotic parts. And when Nelson says they're exotic, they're exotic.
And they are indeed.
Yeah. Tell me about them.
Okay. Something that just arrived, like yesterday, is a, what is this? A 2SB206
Oh, yeah, I know that.
germanium power transistor from the old days.
The good old days.
Good old days. This is an interesting thing that I'm looking forward to playing with, partly because my partner Joe Samet, the best ears I ever met, you would swear by things that he heard that it had germanium power transistors in.
Okay.
He always, in fact, I inherited quite a bit of his stuff. And he was a fan of germanium power transistors, and I decided that I would try to find out why.
But from what era are they? How old are they?
Oh, 50s. The germanium is pretty much...
They were power transistors in the 50s? Stupid question.
Yeah, these could easily be 60s. I mean, I don't know what the vintage is. These are parts that either sat somewhere for a long time or got salvaged out of equipment. It's unknown. The only thing that's known is that they test good.
So they don't go bad. Did transistors ever just age out?
I suppose as a concept they do, but not. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Okay. They do if they've been worked hard. Then they do get some thermal stress, and you can see them break at some future date. Just because, in the same way you could flex plastic until finally it just breaks, that you could have them fatigue. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, no, that's not an issue. I get old parts, and I don't worry that if they're working, I think they'll continue to work.
Mm. So they're kind of like new old stock tubes.
Yes, old. I guess you could say that's what these are, except that they're probably not new.
Okay.
Let's see. And then here is an SIT, aka VFET, that's been around for ages. It's a 2SK180. This one is actually salvaged out of equipment. I have some that are new. This just happened to be what was on the shelf. This is it's a several hundred watt. I forget exactly what the spec is. I think it's 300 watt.
But you've never used it in any design?
Not yet, no.
Yeah, okay.
This has just been sitting on the shelf.
So when these things come through, and let's say you listen to that, you play with it, you go, oh, I got to make an amp around this.
Yeah, that's pretty much what
that's why you're doing this, right?
Well, I'm going to make an amp out of them, because how else would I ever get to hear them? So it's a foregone
But I mean, whether you
conclusion.
produce it, I should put it that way, that you would.
Well, you look at the characteristics and you think about where that most likely usage would be.
Okay.
SITs are remarkably good in all sorts of applications, but they do one trick that you do not see out of the other parts, which is what they call technically a common source mode of operation, in which they have both voltage and current gain, and the signal comes off of the drain. I know this is technical, but normally, like with a pentode or a normal transistor, you come off the drain, or in the case of bipolar, that would be the collector. It's a high impedance connection. So if you want low impedance, you've got to come up with something else that lowers the impedance for the speaker, because it doesn't want to.
Because you want to have an amplifier with low output impedance.
Unless you're building a current source amplifier, which I have sold a few of those.
Right.
But in general, you're looking for a low output impedance. And the SITs have a naturally low output impedance. This is almost where they really shine. Now, they're also very good in other modes of operation, but this is the primary trick that they can do that the other ones really can't do. So I have the 2SK180s. These are made by Token, which is the company that also, for instance...
Hold it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did show you this one before.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yeah. These are the guys in Japan. The guy who invented them is died last year at a ripe old age. Very celebrated inventor, professor, academic, who actually invented the SIT device.
And when was that?
Oh, that was, I think it was 1951.
Yeah, that early.
Well, I could be wrong about that date. But anyways, the Nishikawa was his name, and he was one of the foremost experts, and he was the SIT guy. At Token, apparently they had a designer that I don't know who was really the guy who really got them made and was the go-to. When a very famous billionaire in Japan, who was a rabid audiophile, decided that he wanted to play with SITs, and he wanted to recreate the Yamaha B1s from mid-70s. He went to Token. Apparently he got the original guy, and they created this, which was a 2SK77B, which was even bigger and nastier than the original.
When you say nastier, in a good way?
A good way in the sense that it could dissipate more power.
Okay.
And it packages a little more up to that. But at the same time, I have tested SITs, that all the ones I could get a hold of, and I'll show you the rest. This was the best of all of the ones. If I have 18 in my stash, and even if somebody was selling them, they would be unbelievably expensive. However, they had the best characteristic of all the parts that I have seen.
But with 18, this is not going to become a commercial product. Not even for like
none of these would be a commercial
some very
product.
wealthy person couldn't say, "Hey,
Russian.
Nelson."
Sure, yeah, a wealthy person
some
could
Russian,
say that.
Guy.
What do you think the chances are? Huh?
I think that's nutty.
Well, okay, maybe a wealthy Russian
Yeah.
would commission some more of these. Here's a Russian SIT power transistor. I think I have already shown you the Sonys. These are the Sony VFETs that were used in Sony amplifiers from that same era in the 70s and into the 80s. I have here, let's see, Token also made, in fact you can see Token right on the side, this SIT, which looks like a little satellite, and it's probably appropriate. This is likely a microwave part. And I don't even know what these are, but they're SITs.
Okay.
I got a hold of them, and what can I say?
And when Nelson doesn't know.
Also out of
That's kinda
China. Somebody in China made, I don't know how many, but I got some samples. And these are SIT little power transistors, and they have an interesting curve, but they're all got that same triode sort of characteristic. And again, this is distinguished from normal FETs that look more like pentodes. And there's just a different shape to the amplifying curves. This is in this case, a THF51S. This is from I've seen them advertised back in the 80s. I don't know the date of this one. I've been buying some of these that have been, either they're new old stock or they've been polished up nicely to go fit the bill. However, they're pretty much running out of these. You can still get some of them on eBay, and they're genuine parts. This is a family of parts, this one and the 2SK182, which are, the voltages are as high as 900 volt rating. The current figures for current going through them is as high as maybe 40 amps, sometimes 30 amps. And these are 400 and 500 watt types of parts. These are really serious industrial stuff. And they're going to make some very fine Class A amplifiers. Here is, this is the SIT1 transistor that got me rolling on this, and this was made by SemiSouth. It was made out of silicon carbide, which made it very unique. And of the 2,000 that I purchased, I now have just a very small little stash.
But so this was used in the SIT 1, 2,
One,
and 3.
2, and 3.
Okay.
And I don't know, something on the order of 1,600 channels, 1,700 channels worth of those. That's sold very well.
And you said they've been super reliable in the field.
Yeah, after we put a protection diode on them, so that if you plug the input of the if you plug the input connection of the amplifier into the AC socket, it wouldn't break anymore. We had some failures with people's, shall we say, prototype tube preamps. And I found that if you tossed 40 volts into the input circuit, you could break it.
Okay.
And I didn't think that was possible, but
or that's stupid.
After that, I put a Zener diode there for that, and after that, I had a couple that came back for noise because it was used as a voltage gain device. So if it's noisy, you would have higher noise figures, but it wasn't really excessive, and I did keep enough spares that I could take care of that. So actually, in the case of most of these parts, I haven't even heard them yet. I'm just looking forward to it.
Wow.
Getting into my copious free time. Not. And so, yeah, in fact, actually, one of the things that chews up all my free time is not only the design work for Past Labs and First Watt, but I have to tend a flock of DIYers on a daily basis on DIY audio, and plus answer all the emails. And that consumes the first 2 hours of every day.
These people, the flock.
Yeah, the flock.
And you're the papa of the flock?
Yeah, well, they're also known as the Greedy Boys,
Okay.
with a Z. And the reason for that is that I have foolishly at various times given hints as to what I'm working on, or maybe even some more than hints about something that's already done. And they are lacking an official schematic, so they quickly try to make up the difference with speculative thing. But they're after the original schematics usually, because
But what if they came up with something that was better than what you came up with?
it has happened.
Oh, no. Really?
Well, first off, there's a lot of really talented guys doing this stuff,
Uh-huh.
and there's a couple of them who are apparently smarter than I am.
Hmm.
So I've learned to be a little more circumspect. I
Yeah.
at least want to get mine out before they
Yeah.
do better.
Oh,
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
to cross the finish line just a little earlier than they do. So, of course, one of the parts...
Maybe you should hire them.
Well, I've tried in one case, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I'm still working on them.
Really?
Sure.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, some of them, you've definitely, in a couple of cases, they know more math than I do, and I could use that help sometimes.
Huh. Well, that's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
So it goes back and forth. It's not just you to your flock. It's your flock is also helping you.
Well, I have found, well, actually, the big, no, when they compete with me, it doesn't necessarily help me, but it's flattering, and they do some nice work, and that gets it out there without it having to be my official circuit. So the cloners really want an official circuit to work with,
I see.
So
Okay.
this way it gets out there and everybody gets to play with it, but it doesn't have the stamp of approval from me that allows somebody else to sell copies of it so easily. We have to we have to walk a kind of a balanced line with all this.
You do wherever it falls in the timeline, but you do provide schematics
Oh yeah.
for these designs that you aren't going to build, right? Usually.
They well, first off, it's a DIY project in
Right.
which many of them are. Then here's the schematic.
Right.
And if it's commercial product, then we don't release official schematics until after it's out of production, and even then we sometimes wait a while because we're still seeing issues with.
And then
copying.
how do you chase down people who are making them to sell?
Largely you don't. Largely these people discover that it's not that successful because really the customer wants the real thing, and they don't
Okay.
and they don't particularly trust somebody who is ripping it off either.
Hmm.
At the same time, there is some trafficking in people on what is admittedly their DIY project based on something. There's lots of that,
Okay.
and that's fine because we let it out the door. I don't want to be the dog that pisses on food when he's not hungry. I'm really happy if it doesn't cause issues for me. I'm happy to have it out there.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyways, it's actually a lot of fun. And these are the happiest audiophiles I know, are the people building their own stuff.
Have any of the flock gone on to start their own companies?
Let me think. Not so much that I have noticed the bread being removed from my mouth. No.
Well, yeah, okay, but I'm just saying, that they sort of, it was a stepping stone, and now they're ready to do their own thing. And,
I think there was several guys who are interested in doing that and who have launched small operations with, kind of like hobby businesses.
Or maybe
I understand that.
Kickstarter?
This is my hobby business, here
right.
in the shop here.
You get to have it both ways, right?
I do.
You get to have, the real company,
No,
Past
I
Labs,
do. Yeah,
and then
and they're back there doing the real work.
yeah,
And
and
I
you're
get
here-
I
you're
get
having
the best,
fun.
Yeah, I get the best of it.
Yeah, that's the best. And I think
Mhm.
that's the best place to end.
Yeah.
So, my name's Steve Guttenberg. My guest today is the illustrious,
The guy with the best of it.
yeah, the best job of all in audio, possibly, Nelson Pass in his lab here in Sea Ranch, California.
Thank you.
Sure. Bye-bye.